Welcome to another episode of the Everyday Experiences podcast, where we uncover potential design improvements in the world around us by exploring one frustrating experience at a time. I'm your host and chief observer, Geoff Wilson, based out of Auckland, and joining me today is Guy Thompson, a Kiwi based in Melbourne.
Thank you. It's nice to be here again, Geoff. I am a Kiwi based in Australia. I'm surrounded by Australians, but don't hold that against me. I'm still a Kiwi at heart.
And if my accent hasn't given it away already, I'm an American that's living here, and hopefully once I say garage correctly, they'll actually accept me into the Kiwi culture.
You are slowly being converted into a Kiwi, so you're becoming a squishy little piece of fuzzy fruit over time.
I am a permanent resident now, so they can't kick me out anymore. It's kind of nice to know.
You're permanent, yeah. So you might like you're a little permanent Kiwi. You'll last on the shelf. You're shelf stable now. That's really good to hear.
That's good. So speaking of shelf stable, that gets us into what we wanted to talk about today, which was going to be grocery stores.
There you go.
Because I've got this never-ending quest to help the world realize that there's more to design than just digital interfaces. How many times did I talk to UX designers who they're just vying for jobs, but they're looking at websites and apps, and that's it, and trying to remind people that user experiences are things all around us. For example, grocery stores, because there's a ton of things that annoy the hell out of me at grocery stores that, maybe other people pick up or don't, but I'm trying to find what are the reasons why the business might actually want to care about those, and why might designers want to use what we kind of cover in this kind of episode to pitch to their bosses to see if, they can change these experiences. Because I'm not just going to a grocery store and that's the only thing I'm doing that day. I might have already used my car to get to the grocery store or a bus. I might be using a bathroom in the mall while I'm before or after going to the grocery store. I might go home and use Netflix or whatever. All of these are different experiences. And one annoying aspect after another for each of these different designs of products and services can accumulate in this overall just annoying as hell, day for me. And so I'm trying to nip them in the bud, right? That's why I called you into this, is because I think you've got the business-minded sense that I want to bring into it. I know you've got a lot of insights on just products and how things work and some marketing backgrounds. And so, today, grocery stores.
It's a really good point, Geoff. I think we can collaborate to make your life easier, make sure you encounter less frustrations, and absolutely delve into a few of those things, those experiences within a grocery store. Some are really well thought out and very sophisticated designs, and others are things that have just been sort of placed there.
So, Guy, when was the last time you went grocery shopping?
Literally yesterday, which was a very painful and scary experience, as it usually is.
Wait, what was the most scary thing right off? Because you've already intrigued me.
I think the main difference was that I now have taken up the habit of driving to the supermarket, whereas before I was just using public transport or buying it online. And now I feel like I'm more inclined to buy more because I've got the car there. So that's just a little thing that I'm thinking of these days.
That does actually already ring true to me, because we used to live in the middle of the city in Auckland. And in that case, I could walk just 2 blocks down. And so I only got to buy what I could carry back literally in my arms because I had no other way. But now that we live, more of a suburb, I am driving occasionally whenever I've got the car. You know what? And that starts the experience right there. So maybe we'll jump right into it and go. So we're both driving to the supermarket now. And I know for me, at least, I'm a little bit weird. And so I'm already...
Really? You're quite a lot weird, right?
If you didn't realize that I overthink things, you will very soon. So in this sense, the very first thing I'm overthinking already is when I pull up the car, how am I facing the boot of the car towards the entrance? Or more specifically, am I going to impede myself when I'm leaving the store with a trolley in hand? Can I actually load up the boot? Or is the boot going to be backed up against a concrete wall or a barrier in a parking garage and stuff? And that's my first decision point already. So already just driving there, I'm already fatiguing myself, if you will, mentally. And it's going to make this shopping experience a lot harder.
You're kind of thinking about all these things about it's almost like making this fast exit that you've got to get to your car and get home.
They're after me.
I think about that in a similar way, but I don't put my groceries in the boot anymore. Generally, I've got other stuff in the back of my car. So I tend to put the bags behind the seats or on the back seat, because I find if I'm driving around in the car, everything kind of rolls around in the boot and everything just goes everywhere. Whereas if I kind of slot them behind the seats, they tend to stay in their bags a little bit more. So I kind of trap them up to the point where sometimes I will put my groceries on the passenger seat and I'll put the seat belt on the bag so it doesn't go everywhere.
Trigger the whole thingy. Yeah.
Maybe that's that's maybe a comment on my driving around town versus the actual capability of the bag to keep groceries inside it.
I totally get you on that. Now we're already digressing the cars, but I think it's fine. I've actually got little hooks on the side of our boot, and so we actually, with our shopping bags, we can actually basically hook it to that.
Oh,
So that way, it kind of
yeah.
sticks on both sides. It hooks up, stays there. That way, you don't really have to worry too much about it slipping and sliding all over the place.
It's a good point. If I check in my car, I'll see if it's actually got that.
Yeah,
It may do because I've seen those for other things as well. I wasn't quite sure what they are, so maybe I've actually got that in my car. I just didn't know
yeah.
that. So then I'm just
Noticing things that we didn't even intend to notice today.
there. You go. Do
So
check
yeah,
inside the boot of your car if there may be hooks there, and now you know they're actually for your shopping bags.
and if you're not from New Zealand or Australia and you keep hearing us say boot, that is the trunk. So obviously, I sound American, so I gotta relate this to the international audience. That yes, the trunk or the boot. As I'm proud of myself that 3 years in, I'm starting to change my language. It's an achievement, I think.
You're adopting the country where you're living, which is good.
Yeah. So anyway, okay, so we park the car, we walk inside. Now we're up to the next decision, and this is going to be a running theme, I think, today is around decisions and decision paralysis to be specific. And I'll bring up that a little bit later. So yeah, the first thing, we've walked up now, and almost guaranteed you're going to choose a kind of trolley, a shopping cart, or a basket before you walk in. And even right there, it's this mental game of how much do you think you're going in to get. Now maybe you've got a shopping list, so maybe you've got a whole heap of stuff you're trying to plan for the entire week. Maybe you're for yourself, you're just trying to get a few meals. What's that like for you?
Every supermarket, especially very, very large ones, are designed and intended for you to buy as many products as possible, pop them in your car and drive home, right? And I do notice that for some kind of bargain, sort of cheaper supermarkets, they only have one kind of trolley and it's gigantic. Everyone gets the same thing, and you don't even have the option to get a basket. So if you go there, you have to get a trolley, and that predicates that you might buy more stuff to fill up the trolley. Whereas if it's easy to pick up a just a basket, then you might just end up buying less stuff. And I only personally shop with a basket now because I can get like 2 bags of groceries out of that. That's all I need. And I
Plus, you
know
get some
if I end up
weightlifting
with
in there a little bit.
exactly like you can, and then you're balanced up and you've got all the stuff. If I'm getting a trolley, I know I'm going to buy way too much stuff. I'll come out with like 5 bags, and half of the stuff I'm not going to use it. So it's just kind of that discipline of like how much do you need versus like what's the likelihood that you're going to buy more if you've got a bigger trolley to fill.
So yeah, so we've got our basket or trolley now, depending on how much you're going for. Now, one of I guess the first things is the first sections you see. I've actually started noticing it. It's not just produce, but it's also sometimes some sweets to and maybe tantalize you from the beginning. And I've read about that allegedly they put some sweets and stuff kind of near the produce area or cakes and stuff like that. So you might not buy it then, but it might entice you that by the time you get to the kind of confectionery aisle, that you're kind of primed, if you will, to see that. But aside from that, produce is the first thing you see. My assumption is that what it makes you feel really healthy. So is that kind of what it is? Like, oh, if I load up with fruits and veg, then I'm going to feel less guilty about buying some chocolate and cokes and stuff later on. Is that how it works? Do you have any idea?
I from what I've read, I would love if it's that suggestion that you're trying to make consumers
Okay.
feel like they're
Okay.
happier. But from what I've read, it's around the idea that the visual examples of all the produce are the smells, the aromas of not only the produce but also the bakery section that's often quite
Oh
close as
yeah.
well. It's around stimulating your senses. So it's your sense of smell, your sense of the aromas that come into your mouth. So you're almost like tasting the food that you can see.
Because the smell of
Um,
cardboard just doesn't really do it for you, does
it's
it?
not the same, right? But you think as well, like we've probably spent all day in a generic office environment or working from home, and then you suddenly come into this environment, all the stimulation. If your senses are more stimulated, apparently you are going to be more likely to make reckless buying decisions throughout the rest of your journey. But if you walk into the supermarket and there's no kind of fruits and vegetables and things there, it does feel very dry and very stale, and it isn't as a stimulating experience as you would like it to be. But that's also like a behavioral thing that's what you're expecting in the supermarket now. And if it's not there, it feels really weird. If you walk into
Yeah.
any kind of mini mart, or I know when I've been overseas in places like China, the first time I was going over there was no fresh produce in the supermarket, and it just freaked me out because I was like, everything was just dried goods and packets, and I was like, the supermarket didn't feel fresh.
I realized something when I was thinking about this and trying to consciously think about the different sections you walk through. And I realized produce is probably the most fragile thing you're buying that day, the most delicate thing, but that's going into
Yeah.
your basket first. And so what that's going to be is everything you're going to buy after that, you're going to have to shuffle all that stuff out of the way because a lot of it's loose items, right? Apples are rolling around, potatoes are rolling around, tomatoes are rolling around. And all of those things will be crushed by everything else, the Cokes, the ice creams, the bars of whatever else you're going to buy later on. So speaking of this, I've already got a gripe that came to mind as we're talking about produce here. Bananas. I still don't know what's socially acceptable for bananas because I don't want 6 bananas in a what is it called, a bushel? What are this? What are they called again? Is it a
This is a
bushel
bunch,
or
of
a
bananas, I
bunch of
guess.
bananas?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I don't want 6, but am I allowed to manhandle it and rip off 2 that I want? There's because I definitely see a variety of this. Socially, I still don't know what's acceptable. So I'm the one sitting there kind of like looking around my shoulder going, is anybody looking at me? Crunch, 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 rip, rip, rip. Yeah.
Rip them to pieces. And
Yeah.
I notice now that a lot more bananas are wrapped in a piece of tape. So you've kind of like, that's your whole
Oh.
bunch to take together. There's
Urgh.
5 or 6 in this bunch. You're buying this. That's all you've got. However, having said that, like bananas, I think are actually pretty well priced for the nutrition level you're getting versus like your fact you might have a few more. But of course, they go off quickly. So you've got to make some banana bread. So that's just the balance there.
Given how bananas and avocados just go from like unripe, ripe, you missed it. If we crossbreed avocados and bananas together, can we make some kind of temporal wormhole of fruit that doesn't go ripe, but just blinks out of existence? So the second it's ripe, it's just poof, gone. Anyway.
It's a good point. Both bananas and avocados, I believe, are a specific kind of fruit or vegetable that are kind of like a microcosm of life, that everything is going well and then suddenly everything's going terribly.
So we're back into the rest of the store. We're finally leaving the produce section because we've spent quite a long time in there.
You've picked up a whole bunch of stuff you're going to squash, right?
Actually, wait, there's one more thing about produce that I can't help myself to go back to. But nobody really ever teaches you. Well, your parents might teach you, your partners might teach you, your friends might teach you. Somebody might teach you about how to choose the right watermelon or the right avocado. Like, how do you know when it's ripe? How do you know what to squeeze or not? So there's already this decision fatigue that I get because I'm not a cook. I'm definitely not good at it. And I'm trying to figure out which one is the best one for me, but there's nothing really that guides you when you're buying produce either. So you can try to do your research. And sometimes I've been caught in the store, sitting there on my phone, trying to research, how should an onion feel again? What should I be looking like? Can I buy it if it's cracked or not? I would love some help with that.
I have personally noticed that between the different kinds of supermarkets you can shop in, from really kind of bargain basement all the way up to premium, I feel like somewhere in the middle, you start to get a little bit of a helping hand around how do you tell that an avocado is ripe? How do you tell that these different kinds of fruits or vegetables are good to have at this point? And they're often quite small, kind of printed little cards, or it's beside the price, and they're kind of in there, but they are quite small. They're not like shouting out at you. But if you kind of look in there, you'll see some stuff that's in proximity to the fruits and vegetables. And part of it is that they don't want you touching all of the stuff all the time to try and work out if it's right. There's ways to look at an avocado visually.
You want grubby hands all over everything?
Without grabbing the avocado, you've got ways to work out if it's actually ripe or not.
Yeah. So now we're finally leaving the produce section, and I realized also it doesn't matter how long you've been shopping at your one store for. I've been going mine now for a year. I still don't know what aisles are next. We're walking along, and I noticed there's now a little peek we do. So you've got your trolley, you're walking past the next aisle, you're rounding the corner of produce, and now you're trying to see what is on this aisle. What's this thing next to me? And chances are, at least for me, I'm kind of glancing up to those boards that are hanging from the ceiling. Sometimes they're halfway down, sometimes they're a little closer, but I'm doing a little peek before I fully commit to actually turning my cart. So I'm like, do I want to turn? Do I want to turn cereal? Yes, I do want to turn. And it's that last minute decision, kind of whipping it around. And yeah, those things are not easy to see, I don't think. And I'm also making guesses of like, I wanted honey. Is honey going to be in the jam aisle, or is, I don't really know.
I tend to shop much more through muscle memory, so I often miss a lot of things because I'm just in there like as quick as I can, and I'll just be blasting through because I'm just got my one basket, right? I'm not like walking along slowly with my trolley. I'm like dodging people and like zipping through and trying to be like, I can't even grab
honking
your
horn. Wait, careful.
Yeah, it's like I couldn't even get to it, so I don't have that this week. Like it's just I'm there for speed, but I do know what you mean. Once you get to I suppose you could call it the meat of the supermarket, where you've got this kind of all these massive aisle rows in the middle.
The meat where there's no meat.
Yeah, there'll be some that you clearly recognize, and then some where you're like, I'm not quite sure if that thing's. And then occasionally you'll see stuff, and it's completely confusing as to why they've decided to not put that thing beside the thing that you associate with those other items. Like, because the toothpaste and the toothbrushes are the same. Like they go together, even though one of them is made out of ingredients and one's just made out of plastic, right?
Yeah.
So they still go together because you use them at the same time. But there'll be other things in the supermarket that are laid out in kind of less logical ways. But they try to do their best to put the things together that you would be buying at the same time.
That's my challenge to anybody that uses honey, that eats honey, whether it's in tea or just on chicken or whatever. Because we put chicken on our honey on our chicken back in the States, at least. For KFC, it makes everything great. Product placement for free. Come on, get sponsorship from KFC. I would love that.
Wait. Hold on. I am going to have to stop you there. Are you telling me that you put honey on your KFC when you buy it?
Hell yes, I do.
Wow.
It is delicious.
Okay, mind blown.
I
am
sidetracked, but I think it's worth it because we're going to educate people on this podcast, especially given New Zealand's the honey capital of the world. KFC at least used to give you prepackaged little honey packets with all of your chicken. So that's how you learn.
In America.
Yeah.
Like, what?
You buy your bucket of KFC and it's going to come with packets of honey. It comes with it. You don't even ask for it. Yeah.
I really want to know if this is a state by state thing where there's certain states in America
I'll have to
play.
I haven't been to Kentucky and I haven't gone at KFC from Kentucky.
I'm going to say that downtown Delaware does not usually give you honey with your chicken, but hey, it's different everywhere. I'm fascinated to learn more.
Well, from people from Dover, Delaware, go out and go get some KFC tonight and see. And then
please let us know. and if you can get your Sichuan sauce as well with your chicken McNuggets, whatever goes well together.
So anyway, trying to find honey, to me, that's like one of the ultimate challenges. And I realize now, as somebody who buys honey somewhat routinely here, because we put it in our teas and stuff, we just never know where it is. I've never learned it. So I've started writing down on my shopping list exactly what aisle it is, so that every time I go there again, I don't have to hunt for it again. I just can find honey. And to me, that's one of the first big really design improvements out there, is how can you help the consumer actually find the thing they want? That is supposing that the store wants to help you find the thing you want.
But I can identify there's a small problem with this, right?
Okay.
Is you have to be able to categorize what the food is, right? Yeah, so what is honey?
Sugar.
But is it a condiment or is it a health food?
Part of me thinks jam, in that kind of section. Because I spread it on stuff. I spread it on bread. I spread it on chicken.
Yeah. So you've got your peanut butter and jelly. This is your condiments. Your spreads aisle, right? It's your spreads aisle. Okay, cool.
But is that where it actually is? I can never recall. Yeah.
Usually not now. Yeah, it's more in this sort of health. And part of the reason that I think it's been moved to a health food area is because the price per gram is astronomical. So you want to be able to put it near other foods that are priced higher as well. You will probably still find your bottle kind of squeezy, spreadable, $5 honey. That'll be along with all the other condiments. All the other spreads and jams and all that kind of bargain sort of stuff in that row, that sort of breakfast aisle. But your health food honey that's $25 a bottle, that'll be in the different section. So that's kind of where you sort of end up finding it in two places, because you've got two kinds, one that's a spread and one that's you're paying $25 for your bottle. So it better be in a fancy section.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I guess the more times I'm aimlessly wandering looking for honey, I'm going to start passing by Hershey bars and Cokes and other things like that. And I might start getting tempted. Huh. Yeah.
And now I've got an interesting point on this that I
blow my brain,
found through a little bit of research. Now, and you think back to in your mind when you're shopping for honey.
Okay.
What position in the aisle do you usually find it?
Somewhere
in the middle or in the middle?
Somewhere deep in the middle, hidden, where I will walk past it 5 or 6 times and then I will find it.
Why do you think that is?
I'm guessing they're just trying to get me to see as many things as possible. Again, the decision fatigue. They're just trying to get me to notice all of this other stuff and maybe just wear me down until I start buying random things that I wasn't intending to buy.
Exactamundo. Getting you to walk through the aisle into the center of it helps you to kind of not only orient yourself around that's where the honey is, that's where the pasta sauce is, that's where the pasta is. It's in the middle of the aisle. So if you check where your rice, your pasta, your sauce, it's in the middle. There'll be other products around it. So the taco shells and the stuff, but the core products, they'll generally be in the middle of the aisle.
Yeah. And then, so you're trying to find honey. So we kind of figured out where that's laid out. But then going back to the kind of the signs and stuff, it definitely seems like they're not as helpful and again, I guess we've figured it out now. It's kind of this, they want you to explore. They might put it in small print, so you have to like kind of squint or walk up closer to it to kind of find out what's going to be there. So I've always wondered from a shopper's perspective, yeah, would it be better if at the end of an aisle, kind of like angled things, so you don't have to actually turn and look perpendicular to you, you could just see it. But now I'm starting to think the store, again, this, as you mentioned, this designed experience to get me to do things. I'm assuming they don't want to make it easy for me to just find the things I want. So I can't just skip aisles as easy.
Yeah, this is an interesting comparison. And I think this is something we can talk about in another episode where we're looking at the difference between a hardware store versus a supermarket. When someone's coming to a hardware store, I think they're looking for something very specific and they don't want to waste all day and they're already annoyed because they're halfway through a DIY project. So the list of the items in that aisle are written on the side of the aisle.
Yeah.
So you can see the whole row of like 40 aisles and you can read stuff off them and the signs are a bit bigger. I generally find in a supermarket, the sign is like inside the aisle, about 10 or 15 feet inside it, and then the little signs that are on the thing are quite small and they're kind of put in, so you kind of like, you go, exactly, you look down it and you're like, does that say rice or pasta? And I'm going to have to go check it out, right? Because I'm pretty sure it's there. And then there's these other things that you actually need which are never on the sign. So I would hazard a guess that honey will never be written on the sign, even though people need to find it. It's not on the sign. So you've got to take a punt and go, maybe it's in health food, maybe it's in jams and spreads. I don't know. I'm going to have to go down both aisles to find out.
And I really like the hardware one. Yeah, we'll get it later. But yeah, you're never going like, I need to go buy a rake. Ooh, look, kitchens.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like you're going to make an impulse purchase for like a microwave.
Hi, honey. I spent $10,000 today on paints, and we're replacing all of our sinks and counters today because, man, I just walked down that aisle and I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, like I accidentally bought a marble bathtub today. Not going to happen. But, I bought some honey to put on the KFC. That's definitely going to happen.
I'm glad that's sticking. If we say it 3 times, you'll remember it. Try it later.
It sounds like it's sticking.
It's delicious. Let's see. Now, I guess, let's say we found honey. Now it comes down to price, I think. So you've kind of narrowed down what you're looking at. And now it's another decision fatigue point. You're trying to decide, is the one on special cheaper than the one that's in bulkier versus this other brand that looks quite the same? And sometimes I've noticed on the little stickers, they put actually like the price per 100 grams or 100 milliliters or whatever it might be. But more often than not, I'm finding myself sitting there with my calculator trying to sit there and do some basic fractions, which I sadly was never good at. My fourth grade self still yells at me for not learning that properly. I don't know what else I was doing, daydreaming about all of this, I guess, to come in the future. Little nerdy Geoff in the fourth grade, dreaming of supermarkets. Anyway, yeah, so just stickers on that. I've been having a lot of trouble on it recently, and I think that's what makes when I go shopping, why it always ends up taking me about an hour, is because I'm doing things like this. I'm trying to get a good deal, but I can't tell which one is how do I save money? As I'm trying to save money while I shop, but it's really hard for me to actually compare product by product. And again, it's not just decisions. Now I'm understanding more and more why this is probably a crafted thing again.
I'm kind of on both sides of this because I have worked for many years with a lot of producers of products, and I want to make sure they can sell as much as they can and get a really high margin, all this great stuff. But also I'm a consumer of products as well. So when these little tricks are done, they kind of frustrate me. So one of the tricks that I see often, especially in supermarkets, is that the products that are sold there will often have very unusual sizings included as a way to create diffusion, right? Like that if you want to be able to do the math in your head of how much something is per gram, if the container comes in 250 grams, 500 grams, or a kilogram, for those of us familiar with the metric system,
we'll stick with that.
It's really easy. But if you're getting a 12 and a half ounce and then a 17 and a quarter ounce, like by diffusing the sizing and then also getting super weird pricing as well, like this one's $4.72 and this one's $3.89, and it's really hard to do that math in your head. So generally you're standing in the supermarket, you're kind of comparing these two things, you can't do the math on the fly,
and you get frustrated
to buy one of them. You kind of just grab the one that's around about the right size. So I feel like the supermarket generally will try to give you as much information as possible as a consumer, but I do notice sometimes that price per 100 grams is missing, or it's quoted as a price per kilogram. Not quite sure why those decisions are made sometimes.
And so going back to this this theme of decisions, I finally want to bring up Hick's law. So it's something we talk about in design a lot, whether
Mm-hmm.
regardless what kind of interface or experience you're designing, because again, it doesn't have to be digital. But Hick's law is the time it takes to make a decision increases with the number and complexity of the choices there. So basically, the more choices available, the more time it's going to take, the longer you're going to spend in the grocery store overall. When you've got an entire wall full of pickles and ketchups and mayo and honey and cereals and everything else, that's what makes your trip even longer than anything. But I guess that illusion of choice feels really good, at least for a customer. That now half of these mayos, they are different varieties. Some of these are chipotle aioli versus seafood mayos versus whatever else. So there is some variety, or at least on the label, it looks like there is. But then a lot of them too are the exact same ones, and you end up staring at it and you don't really know which one to buy. So you just,
Mm.
and that's what takes me so long.
Yeah, there's an interesting balancing act there that I think is really important for the supermarket. They want to make sure they've got a wide range available at a lot of different price points. So some that are nice bargain prices, really good deal, versus the really premium ones as well. But you can't have such an overwhelming array that if you had an entire aisle and the entire thing was just mayo and condiments, you'd just be freaking out, right? It's got to be about the right size. And you'll notice that if you go to a smaller supermarket and the mayo that you usually buy
Yeah.
isn't there, you've kind of suddenly, you just get annoyed because they've only got 3 types of mayo and the one I want isn't here. So there's this balancing act between restrictive amount of choices versus overkill where you've got too many. So as a little bit of a tangent, I just wanted to quickly add this thing in. Earlier during the year, I noticed that one of the supermarkets that I was near added in a shopping time that was like quiet hour from like 7 till 8 in the morning. That was designed so older people could come in without getting overwhelmed that people were panic buying toilet paper or whatever was happening at the time. And I also noticed that maybe from 10 till 11 in the middle of the day was also quiet hour for people who were sensitive to very loud noises and very
I think they turn on the
busy
lights sometimes too,
environments.
like the brightness of the
Yep,
lights and all.
turning
Yeah.
down the lights. So if you suffer from photosensitivity or autism or any other kind of factors, that they were just trying to make an environment that was more welcoming. So no announcements over the speakerphone, no music playing. So they'll kind of specifically make those changes to accommodate those kinds of shoppers at that time. But generally, you're looking for your lowest common denominator. It's busy professionals, it's young families. They want to get in and out as fast as they can. So the environment has to be engineered so you can move them through quickly when they want to shop quickly. But when you can slow them down by using slower music and making them go all over the supermarket and pick
Mind
up all the things
control.
they need, the dairy's in that corner, the milk's all the way at the back, the meat's over here, the eggs are over there. You've got to cover the whole area of the supermarket. And that means you're going to hit these end cap aisles where you're going to see some stuff on the end. You're going to see a couple of specials, and more than likely you're going to pick up a couple of things that you didn't intend to purchase when you went in there. So that the entire experience is really designed to help you to cave to your impulses and pick up a few things that you didn't actually need.
And granted, though, when I'm working from home, at least 1 or 2 days a week, that might be the most exercise I get is I go to the grocery store. I've got to walk aisle by aisle. Sadly, I'm not lying. That's sometimes like the
It's good.
most, yeah.
It is like, and this is the thing that's really important to comment on. Like, it is an enjoyable experience. It's stimulating. You're seeing products you haven't seen before. You get to see what specials are on. Going to a market is something that we as human beings have been doing, obviously, for thousands of years. So we're social creatures. We want to see what other people are buying. We want to see what's good. We're seeing visual triggers about what those are, and we're noticing what other people are buying. We're seeing if someone picks something up, or they've got it in their trolley, or they're discussing a product. We're going to assume it might be good because they're making a choice, and that helps us at the point of selection. So what you were mentioning before around being overwhelmed with the choices in the mayo kind of category, this is a common thing everywhere. I'm not sure on the exact statistic, but I think it's around about 40 to 45% of people will make a decision at that point of selection that they think, oh, this is the pasta I usually get. Oh, but this one's like $1 cheaper or $2 cheaper today. Maybe I can just try this one. So there's like a 60% chance people will usually buy the one they always buy, but there's a 40% chance that they might change. So if you can have the little wobbler thingy, the little kind of stickers on the shelf that wobble, or you've got like a large special symbol, all these little visual triggers that kind of trick you away from what you would normally buy and just breaking you out of that habit. And as soon as you get one of those habits broken because you're buying boysenberries today, or look, there's mangoes, or look, the bananas are individual and you can buy 2 bananas today. As soon as they start to kind of destabilize your habitual shopping, you're more likely to sort of buy and pick up other things, which I think is an interesting issue to talk about when we're potentially talking about online shopping later, because you're kind of on rails. There's so fewer. It's a much more restricted experience when you're shopping online, and it's much harder to have impulse buying and occasional purchases and things you can stumble across, because there's not really the same level of discovery when you're shopping online. You're literally not walking down aisles, and that's where I think we're still probably almost a decade away from where we need to be in terms of having an online retail experience being much more like the discovery experience of shopping in a store, where you're literally almost in virtual reality kind of just wandering around the supermarket, wandering around a department store and seeing an experience and picking things up. That's what you miss online. You've kind of just got categories and photos of things, and honestly, that visual layout hasn't really changed since the 90s. Like, picture of product, price, star rating. Like, that's it. Like, that's how you shop online. There's not really any other way to do it that's popular yet.
Yeah, because if you purposely made the navigation of online bad and you make me walk around aisle by aisle on a website, there's no way I'm going to buy anything there. There's no way I'm going to shop if I have to explore like that. But that also tends to be a problem, I guess, in my mind, because I am someone who doesn't plan out like exactly what I'm going to buy. I am that impulse shopper in that sense, that I know, hey, I need to buy some type of protein. I need to buy some basic veggies to make a salad. But other than that, I don't really have any huge targets because I don't really think of meals. I'm not the main chef of the house, if you will. And so in that sense, if I were to shop online, I just don't even know what I don't need yet. And so it would limit me. I mean, I would stop buying a lot of impulse stuff, but at the same point, I worry that, and I guess the reason I don't use it is exactly that. I don't know what I want until I happen to see it. But then what do I end up buying? A lot of frozen meals and canned stuff that I can just bring to work to have to lunch. Things that my wife just shakes her head at me for buying, like I'm still in my early 20s.
Why did you buy this, right?
Because it's easy.
So, like, you're not at university anymore. Like,
but
why
it's
are you
easy.
buying this
Ramen,
stuff?
it's so easy. Yeah.
It's speed, right? So this is an interesting thing that I think is a factor, is that we like the experience of going to a market. It is stimulating. We get to see other people. We kind of wander around. We feel like we're accomplishing a task for our day, right? So this is part of the journey process you go through. And one of the reasons that these little candy bars and treats are left at the end of your journey, because you're predicated to like want to reward yourself for like, I've achieved my goal of surviving my trip to the market today. I have hunted and gathered food and sustenance for my family.
My back hurts. I had to bend over so many times.
And so I'm allowed to buy an overpriced candy bar, or basically a candy bar of some description that has no nutritional value at all. So but we absolutely enjoy this process. And I think you and I are very similar in that we love the visual stimulation of going in there. All the different packages, the different designs. You'll notice when a brand you're familiar with has changed their packaging design. The sizing's different. The colors are different. They've got new
I'll notice because I won't find it.
Oh, and you'd be like, where is it? It's gone, right? But I can tell from what you were saying earlier around like the fact that you haven't seen, you're kind of discovering each aisle as you go. Part of you doesn't want to remember where everything is, because if you did, you wouldn't get to discover and stumble upon things. So you want the experience to be kind of more random. You want it to be discovery. You want it to be this really fun journey that you do each time. Some people who absolutely hate it will kind of just be switched off, and they will just be like, this aisle 1, aisle 3, aisle 7 and out. Like, they will just be, it's the last thing they want to do. And that's the thing that I noticed that was really interesting to do for me recently, was as I started to shop online, I found this really interesting switch happen where I'm able to basically shop for the entire list of things I bought last time and just take a few things off it or add a couple of things on. And I could take my weekly shop down to 5 minutes flat. And I was astonished because it meant that I could save all of that time. So getting the food delivered for, I think, $12 or $15 to your home suddenly became this amazing time saver that I could get like 6 bags of groceries delivered. Which would take me at least 45 minutes to an hour to shop for. So why would I waste that time every week or every couple of weeks?
You could be making podcasts with that time.
I could completely get it back. And I saw this happening recently, where I saw a young mother, and she had 2 kids, and one's a toddler, he's running around, and the other one's in the baby seat, and she's on the phone as well. And it just looked like an astonishingly horrible experience to have to go through, to kind of be doing your shopping at the same time as managing your small humans. And I kind of thought to myself, why would you want to still come down to the supermarket and kind of go through that and get your children out of the house and stick them in the car and go down and buy all your groceries just to save like the 12 or 14 or $15 delivery fee, when you can buy enough stuff online to last you 3 or 4 weeks. And also you could just spend that time at the park. So I was just kind of like, people, we get into these habits and we feel like we're getting a good deal. We feel like we can be really clever. We can choose the right things, but we're always going to buy more stuff than we need when we physically go there. And if you just shop online, you buy it, there's no extras.
There's no extras, and you don't have screaming toddlers that are throwing a tantrum in the middle of the floor. So you get to avoid, they'll just do it in your kitchen instead, but that's fine. You can close the doors and do that. And I guess at that point, we're kind of down to checkout. So in
the end of the experience,
yeah,
you've got all the stuff you didn't need, and now you got to pay for it.
Yeah, and if you carried a basket in or chose a basket at the very beginning, and now you've realized that you tried to fill up to the brim, and you
it's
put some
ripping my arm off, like
But then you try to flex a little bit, trying to lift it up, like, oh well, I might as well get some, some
yeah,
presses in there.
Totally, yeah.
Now, a lot of self checkouts are starting to pop up more and more, and I know one of the first things is I do prefer self checkouts because once again with decision fatigue, it's one chance I don't have to decide anything. I will just stand in the queue, and when the next one opens up, I'll go there because there's nothing differentiating like one from another, other than maybe some have cash only or card only, but I only pay with cards. So to me, any of the 8 that are there, I can just walk up. Versus the classic way of looking at like the 3 different queues that are manned, and you're trying to go, okay, well that guy has an entire full cart, but it's just him. Versus there's 3 people that have like a few items each. Which one's going to take longer? So that decision's gone now. I can actually just go, you know what? I'm going straight to the self checkout. However, I still then do have to consider, I guess, well, I bought a bottle of wine and some beer, or I bought this really weird thing where I need rubbish bag tags, or I need some other odd item where I need that the staff to help me. That could impact again how that self checkout's actually going to go. So maybe staying in queue and having one person take care of all of it for me is actually a better decision. So never mind. I thought there wasn't a decision. There still is a decision. I'm starting to hate supermarkets, by the way.
I think it's a good view, like a little peek inside what your brain is like, that you are turning up to that point at the supermarket where there's this transition into like, okay, here, now we're going to pay for everything. And you've got like all these hamsters on the wheel in your head, and you're like working out, that if you choose one of those queues and the other 2 queues move faster, that you're going to get annoyed at that. And you're going to be thinking, what could I have detected? What thing could I have seen that would have made me choose the right queue and I would have gone through faster, right? Whereas
just like lanes in traffic, you're going to switch lanes potentially and then get mad that the other one starts going faster again. And
exactly. But the thing about that I think is interesting is that if you have a full-size trolley and you're going through the self-checkout, how do you like get the trolley in there beside the thing, and you've taken up too much space, and now you've got 4 bags? Like, it's just painful. I just want to go through the human manned kind of one if I'm buying more than 2 bags worth of stuff. It's just impossible.
So what I've realized out of all this is that I probably should just start shopping online. I can get rid of all of this worry. I can search for the exact product I need. I can just pick that. I don't have to worry about looking between 40 different types of mayo. I can just type in the one brand that I know now. I can find everything. I can plan out the meals better. I can not have to go through any of this. But now the ultimate question for me, like many people, is what's going to actually change that behavior? Because tomorrow, chances are, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to say I need groceries, and I'm probably just going to do the same thing I do.
You're just going to go to it, yeah.
What is going to change that? I guess we'll wait to see. Maybe somebody again listening makes that new thing that makes me go, that just stops this behavior wholesale.
This was the nicest thing that I found about shopping online, is it was so much easier to actually buy larger versions of things, because I didn't have to carry it or pick it up or put it in my trolley or put it in my basket or put it in the bag. That thing would turn up and I could just put it into the cupboard at my house. And so that's the thing that I really liked about doing that, is you can shop online, fill up the basics, and then your trip to the supermarket is more like 15, 20 minutes to just buy something you need for dinner tonight because you want to do something special. And so it takes the pressure of trying to work out all of those special meals you want to make at the same time as all the staples, the things I'm having for lunch, the things I'm having for breakfast, And so that point you mentioned before about you'd kind of have this decision paralysis, and you'd switch back to, I'm going to get some frozen stuff or some packet stuff, the stuff that's easy, because the entire experience is so overwhelming. So I find if you take the staples and put those through online, and then you get to choose and pick out all the fun things that you can explore. It's like, I'm not really sure what yogurt I want, so I'll just kind of go and pick what's there.
maybe that's my challenge, is I'll try to at least do it once, and maybe I'll get hooked. It might sometimes just be that I need that one kick to try that new thing. And after that, yeah, you might realize it's the best thing for you. And I think now we've fully gone through the supermarket. I'm actually not looking forward to it because I know now how much I'm being controlled, and I don't really like that feeling of control. Don't keep me down, man.
Try it online and then compare back to going back to the supermarket and see what happens. It'll be an interesting comparison to try it differently. And hey, maybe even try going to a supermarket you've never been before and see how different it'll be.
And with that, folks, thank you for listening to this episode, and I hope that made you think of a few new things. If you'd like to continue this conversation or see examples of what we were talking about today, you can find and follow us on social media at EverydayEXPPod or myself at Geoff Wilson HCD. Please consider subscribing on your favorite podcasting app and leaving us a rating so we can keep this going. And just remember, you don't have to have a fancy job title to start noticing and improving the everyday experiences wherever you work. Thanks, and we'll be on the air again soon. Mitch Hedberg, one of my favorites, said, with a stoplight, green means go and yellow means slow down. With a banana, it's quite the opposite. Yellow means go, green means whoa, slow down, and red means where the heck did you get that banana? If only I could do his mannerisms, this would be good.